you have.
All right, Drake put up 16 points last week, dropped the ball a few times, Brew. Do you expect him to return to MVP form?
Well, let's define MVP form for Drake Maye. Because look, I had him second on my ballot. He had a great year. If he wins MVP, I'm not going to throw a hissy fit. But he wasn't spectacular. He does throw the deep ball well, obviously. But he didn't have many Superman games like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or something. Now, the Jets, of course, but they were the Jets, a horrible team this year.
Just so steady.
Yeah,
throughout.
he's steady. So he had 5 touchdowns against the Jets. Take that away, he had 2 games with 3 touchdowns. Not even 3 or more, 3. He had 1 300-yard passing game. So MVP form for Drake is about 2 touchdowns and 250 yards.
Yeah.
I can't.
Now, the Texans, I mean, take that, certainly,
100%,
especially against the Texans. So I'm just saying it's not like a Superman Josh Allen type game that he has to have for us to be like, he did his thing.
500 yards in that Seattle game.
Yeah, nothing. It doesn't have to do something
not
like
that
that
type of thing.
Yeah.
But against this team, I mean, all told, when you include sacks, they didn't give up 250 yards in passing in one game this year, other than the Week 18 when they rested their starters for the second half. So their starters did not allow 250 yards passing from an offense. So I think it's going to be difficult. I have a graphic, I believe, about some of the quarterbacks. Well, this is Maye under pressure. Okay, these are the things he has going for him against this defense. He's very good under pressure.
He was the best pressure quarterback in the league this year.
Because he's going to get pressure.
Yes.
And so he can handle the pressure. I think his running ability could help him. So his legs should help him. And the fact that the Texans' offense is so pedestrian.
Correct.
So he doesn't have to have 30 points to win this game, I don't believe.
No.
And so if he can just be solid, and his typical two touchdowns, 250 yards would probably be enough.
Yeah.
If he can do that efficiently, no turnovers, or maybe just one. So, look, I think it's going to be a tough day for him. But because of his legs, because of his handling the pressure, and because it's not going to be a shootout, I don't believe, I think he's got a chance.
Do you want to go?
I mean, if we scored 30 points, they should cancel the Super Bowl and mail us the trophy.
Yeah. No, I think 21. I think if you guys scored 21, assuming the Texans' defense doesn't score, should be enough to win the game.
Yes.
But I want you to go on your thoughts on Drake before I go.
It's hard to find sort of avenues of openings in the Texans' defense. Yeah. The 2 from like Evan Lazar, who works for the Patriots, they're 31st in EPA allowed per scramble, so Drake can get out. It's a little bit of that pressure because they're only runs from 4, so you can get out. Trevor broke some runs, doable. And explosive pass rate.
Trevor broke some runs in the regular season game, or are you talking about Herbert? Because the
regular season game, Trevor got
it. Okay, sorry.
And then you can throw the ball over their heads, basically, and Drake is good at the long ball. The thing that I'm putting all my faith in is Josh McDaniels. This is not Josh McDaniels' first time going up against an elite defense. Here he is in the playoffs against the #1 total defense. Buffalo, that was the Josh Allen, 6 straight touchdowns games. That was with Mac Jones, still put up 305. A little bit funky because I think Buffalo, once they were up 40, they were like, throw the ball around a little bit. Houston with 377. These are Brady games, so this is also a little bit funky. That was Brady versus Clowney. And then Brady versus Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. Prime Aqib Talib was the Denver game. And then, of course, the Legion of Boom. Super Bowl, still 377. Now, maybe that's just a side... a side piece of the Belichick Brady argument is Josh McDaniels Brady. But look, it's not like he hasn't gone up and had some success against elite defenses.
Yeah, I'm picking the Pats in this game, and I think Drake will play well. I am not let me rephrase. I think Drake will play well compared to how quarterbacks have played against the Texans. I agree. Here is the thing, because I took all the games the Texans have played this year, and I wrote down the quarterbacks who they played, who I think are good, and then everybody else.
Yeah.
And when you split it, no, they put everybody in hell.
Yeah.
Left column is Stafford, Mahomes, Trevor, Baker, Herbert, Darnold, Allen. Right column's everyone else. And it's like, all right, the good quarterbacks can win. You know what I mean? Like they can do just enough to where you might win. But the passer rating's 70. The touchdown turnover is 6 to 11. The yards per pass are identical. The completion percentage is identical, which is to say they are almost quarterback agnostic as far as what the defense is going to do. That defense, to quote Marshall from the committee, is going to repeatedly punch you in the face.
Absolutely. And that is precisely why certain discussions circulating about Drake Maye genuinely frustrate me, to be perfectly honest. Because to my mind, they loudly signal that individuals simply aren't dedicating the time to actually watch the contests and are instead resorting to claims like, he's been steady, or he hasn't needed to be Superman, therefore he's not the MVP. Since when does an MVP necessitate a 6-touchdown performance? Since when must one perform like a superhero in a multitude of unrelated regular season games just to be considered in that elite MVP caliber form? All right. It boils down to the caliber of performance, the quality of play. Are you suggesting Drake Maye is required to be Superman? Because that constitutes an entirely separate debate, a different discussion altogether. But being an MVP form fundamentally asks, will he be exceptional? Will he deliver greatness? And here is the critical point. Drake Maye was, in fact, remarkably proficient in that matchup versus the Chargers. It remains entirely possible to execute at a high level against a top-tier defense and still commit a turnover or experience sequences where events didn't necessarily align in your favor. And understand this, it's challenging. It's a delicate balance. It is an absolute tightrope walk, a needle that requires threading. Because there are scenarios where a couple of turnovers occur, yet your overall play was outstanding and you were pivotal to the victory. Conversely, there are games where you also had a couple of turnovers, and the assessment is, sure, you made some impressive passes. Yes, that was a notable play. But overall, it wasn't a quality game. It wasn't sufficient, even in a win where celebrations are underway. Consequently, this is precisely why the focal point must be the quality of play, the degree of difficulty inherent in the tasks demanded of you at any specific juncture. It's even the minor details, because I genuinely watch these games, be it versus the Jets, the Giants, or any other opponent. It transcends the basic box score. It's not merely about, oh, he passed for 4 touchdowns. No, it's the quality of play. It's how he is commanding the offense, the nature of the throws he is executing, those scrambles to extend time before delivering the pass. I'm trying to recall now, I believe it was against the Giants, or perhaps the Jets. He had this particular play. Yes, it was versus a lesser team, but the manner in which he evaded pressure, the way he sidestepped, climbed the pocket, and delivered the throw. That was an MVP caliber moment. Even though the opposition was subpar, even though the situation perhaps didn't 100% demand it because they weren't trailing by a score, it remains a testament to the quality of play from Drake Maye as an individual. And that is the core of our conversation here. Therefore, Drake Maye could endure a severe physical beating in a game, post a passer rating of 72, and amass only 235 total yards. Yet, if he manufactures a small collection of spectacular plays, a critical scramble to convert a third down, a perfectly placed throw into the corner of the end zone for a touchdown, then yes, that constitutes an MVP moment for him. That is an MVP-level performance. And to reiterate, sometimes a quarterback can have that variety of game, and it's simply not at that level. Again, that's why you must observe how the game progresses, how it unfolds. Even these statistics are often too vague. Oh, when did this occur? When those elite quarterbacks went 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions? The crucial question is, how did it genuinely happen? How did the game actually transpire? So to be frank, I find this whole discourse quite intriguing. Placing Baker Mayfield in that echelon, what is the objective here? Seriously, what are we doing? We're discussing Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen. And we're going to insert Baker Mayfield into that group? In his defense, he included Sam Darnold as well, but honestly, come on. Cease. What is the purpose? What are we attempting to do? Stop. But, yeah, listen. Drake has a formidable challenge ahead. The element that distinguishes Drake from all these other quarterbacks, Stafford, Mahomes, Trevor, Baker, Herbert, Darnold, and Allen, is that presently, Drake May possesses the greatest tenacity, the most youth, the optimal health, and the highest energy level among any of those signal callers. Josh Allen is unequivocally the most physically gifted of the group, but he is battered. He is shouldering an immense burden. You can perceive it in those games. He appears worn down. Drake May is at the absolute zenith of his physical prime. His physical prime, not necessarily his quarterbacking prime, but in terms of his body, it will never feel superior to how it feels at this moment. It will only accumulate more wear, become a bit more stiff, a little more... my knuckle always has this slight ache now. Will that ever dissipate? No, that's simply how your knuckle feels from now on. Oh, your index finger? Yeah, I don't know. When you pop it, it just perpetually feels that way. You certain? Yeah. You might have periods where you don't noticeably feel it, but fundamentally, you'll always be somewhat aware of it now. It simply is reality. He doesn't have those physical nuisances yet. Therefore, he can endure. That is why he excels under duress. It's why, when he is sacked, it seemingly has no effect. And one day, it will matter. One day, it will indeed matter. So, they will need to evolve beyond that reliance. But that day is not today. Hence, it is irrelevant. He can absorb a pounding. He can withstand all those sacks, all that pressure, and it does not faze him. He is virtually immune to it, for the present. And that is all that is pertinent for now, because we are exclusively discussing the present moment. We are only going to converse about the present. Therefore, I do believe a significant aspect of this, again, I remain utterly captivated by these defenses, and it's somewhat amusing to observe my own perspectives and perceptions evolve throughout the season. To note what I am concentrating on during these current playoffs, compared to how I was analyzing certain games in the regular season and other playoff contests generally. But I am truly examining this as, what can I anticipate witnessing from Drake May individually once more? How does he personally surmount this defense? And to what extent will his mobility be a factor, specifically? As well as, how does C.J. Stroud appear? How does he look? I have also spoken about Josh McDaniels, curious to see how much he can alleviate pressure for Drake May, but invoking Tom Brady analogies and such, it's a no. And that game with Mac Jones, you all know that contest was meaningless. That game was absolutely insignificant. Let's not attempt to pretend it held any substantive value. I watched that game. I couldn't believe it. Didn't the Bills fail to punt a single time? Didn't they score on every possession? There was simply nothing to glean from it. Zero actionable data. And now, discussing Tom Brady. I think Josh is a phenomenal coach, an excellent coach. I give him immense credit, but I solely care about his work with Drake May. If this were next year or the subsequent year, then referencing the collaboration between Drake and Josh, I just realized, have other people been saying that? I assume so. But what have Drake and Josh accomplished together? Then that might carry slightly more weight for me. However, the personnel also changes season to season, so employing that historical data is perpetually nonsensical to me. They attempted the same with Mahomes versus Fangio defenses. Mahomes has historically dominated Fangio schemes. I thought that was the most foolish argument ever. He faced no quarterbacks of note and was with the Denver Broncos. I mean, what are we discussing? And that was the correct stance. I derided that absurdity, and Fangio with the Eagles evidently did what they did. So, utilizing historical data in that framework is simply irrational. But that is why I place substantial emphasis on Drake May himself. What can he withstand? If it's 3rd and 4 with no receivers open and he must scramble, is he capable of escaping to gain that first down? And if so, does it transform into a 15-yard sprint, a 20-yard dash? Or does he barely secure it? Yes, you converted, but now you confront another set of downs that promise to be equally brutal. So, I am simply intrigued by his capacity to overcome this elite defense. And we are specifically discussing Drake May now, not whether the Patriots will win or other tangential topics. I was going to mention C.J. Stroud and others, but this focus is solely on how Drake himself will perform individually. I would speculate that it has the potential to be a game where he might get roughed up considerably, commit some turnovers, experience some arduous sequences, But if he can execute the pivotal plays when they are most crucial, that constitutes an MVP caliber game to me. Even if, similar to Josh Allen in a particular game, he gets lit up, sacked 7 or more times, whatever the tally was. But if, at the game's conclusion, there was a play to be made and had they completed it, scored a touchdown, and secured the win, then that was an MVP performance. That was MVP form. Because you confronted an elite defense, were consistently overwhelmed, had nowhere to throw repeatedly, were sacked again and again, were pressured and hit relentlessly, yet you still discovered a path through the adversity. You still found a way. So, if those opportunities arise for Drake Maye to forge a path through, can he, in many respects? I'll conclude here, because I watched that Sam Darnold Texans game. For the majority, that contest was straightforward, particularly initially. They were dissecting the defense. I believe they scored the most points against that Texans unit at the time, especially when that defense was stifling everyone. Then the game became somewhat peculiar. Odd decision-making from Clint Kubiak. Note, likely a misremembering of Clint Kubiak. I believe they had Cooper Kupp throw an interception. They executed a few strange maneuvers that prompted questions about their choices. That was more a case of poor decision-making and game management than anything else. But Sam Darnold was able to operate effectively and produce some excellent plays. Although the Texans' defense did have one interception that was sheer perfection in its execution. Largely, however, it was a commendable game by Sam, even if the final box score became slightly distorted near the end. And Stafford versus the Texans in Week 1, nobody was truly in midseason form at that point. So we shall observe what Drake has prepared for them. But these are simply my reflections. I would immensely appreciate hearing your perspectives. What do you all think? Do you anticipate Drake Maye returning to MVP form? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single comment, whether you concur with me or dissent. Regardless, let's engage in some dialogue. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the discourse. And please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an incredible community here and would absolutely adore having you as part of it. I aspire to build something we all feel genuinely connected to, something we are truly enthusiastic about being involved with. I believe we are making significant progress toward that goal. Please also remember to give this video a thumbs up, as it substantially aids visibility within the platform's algorithm. Thank you very much.